welcome back everyone to PGL Asia Minor Championships 2017. The road to the majors in Krakow starts right now for our Asian teams, and one in particular I'm very happy as they're already through to the semi-finals. They are, of course, the brilliant winners in the match against the Australian team Renegades, who will now have to fight their way through the lower bracket. They also need an opponent, so that's what we're going to move on to next. The lower bracket, best of 3 between two teams who were very poor in their opening matches. We've had a bit of a change up here on the desk. Welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Good. Good. Enjoy the first commentaries?
It was excellent.
Yeah.
No, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, okay, then.
We did Fix your cord, young man, first of all.
Yeah, we did a bit of a switcheroo.
We did.
Into, well, me and Metis did that. We tried, color and play by play, because we're both mainly PvP casters, but we tried our best to come back into it, with different...
Mixing it up.
Fresh angles.
Having a bit of a boogaloo.
Having a bit of a boogie boogle is the appropriate term to use in this situation. It's kind of hard to use the word fresh when you're, when you haven't really slept in 24 hours. But we're trying our best.
It's like the middle of the day right now in Beijing.
Is this?
Apparently,
this is the Beijing simulator we're living in.
We are in the Beijing incubator right now. Just plodding along. Someone actually sent me a nice tweet earlier and said, "Jesus, what are you guys doing over there? He looks dead." You try getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hashtag Deadeye, please.
Moving on to more serious things. These two teams, I said in the introduction, Natsu, they were poor. There is no excusing the fact that they were poor, but they've got a chance at redemption now. They've got to win this one to go and play Renegades in the knockout match. So what do we expect?
Yeah, it's really hard to go by much considering how their first games went. Spotnet, as we alluded to in the segment after their game, very simplistic, super simple, just rushing bomb sites. They went for the AB strat, basically. And
told them it was wrong. Should have just gone B.
Yeah, exactly. Until you lose, and then you go
Absolutely.
A, and then you go B
See,
again.
you know that strat. That's just got one back here. It's easy.
But at the same time, it can be. I think it can throw off a team that doesn't have super much structure in themselves either. You know, so it could actually become problematic for someone like Signature to face a team that plays such a brutal way of Counter-Strike. So, this is definitely interesting in that sense. At the same time, for Signature, it looked out pretty well, good for them actually initially in the first 3 rounds, winning the pistol, and then making sure they don't lose either of the anti-ecos, but then just going on a blender basically afterwards. They were lacking on a lot of the fundamental things, such as like if they played slow, which they are not known to be. They really didn't have a lot of clue what to do, understanding the basics of map control, and then having a plan of what do we do with 30 seconds left, being in a 5-on-5 or even maybe in a man advantage situation. So, if you can't really answer those questions, then you are out of luck, basically.
Yeah. We'll start with Signature Gaming in terms of looking at these two teams. Was there anything in the match that you saw and thought, oh, actually that sort of gives me some hope for them?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I would notice, considering these two teams, of course, not pairing them up with their opponents, the first thing that I would notice is that Signature would be a bit more adaptable in their strategy. They would try to employ, at least try, of course, when we say that they got stumped down, of course, but they at least tried their best to approach the game from different positions. They tried fast pushes, they tried a slow round, they tried different kind of angles, they tried pronged attacks, they tried unilateral attacks. Anything that would work for their advantage, they've tried us. And, God loves a trier, and we do too. On the other hand, though, Spotnet is not a team that I've seen to have any kind of a cohesive gameplay. Everything that kind of rolled into their style, and the only rounds that they seem to have gotten was only the rounds where they gotten lucky enough to get their entry frags, because you can see they've got a very passionate, a very aggressive game style at every single round. So they're literally, their strategy is, Suka Black Rushby, I suppose, would be the kind way to put it.
It kind of is.
They're very passionate in their CSGO, so they wouldn't really employ any kind of deep kind of communication or counter strats or mind games with their opponents, rather going in hard and dry. So I believe that Signature might have the upper hand in this term.
So it's an unusual tournament that we come to, Natsu, where a Lebanese team go head-to-head with a Thai team. It's not something we normally experience.
No.
But we are going to experience it. I find it kind of refreshing. I like the fact that we get to see these teams perform on the international stage. We said earlier on it's a great opportunity. Never more so than when you play a fellow underdog team in the group stages, because that's when you can get some confidence going.
Yeah, I think, it's these kind of tournaments and games are a testament that there's so many different ways you can approach Counter-Strike. It's a simple man's game to an extent, but at the same time, there's a lot of different like elaborate things that happen within the game. But still, you see teams and players approach it so differently, and we've seen it with these teams. International teams have much more elaborate strategies, and they're very methodical, and they know how to change the pace. And then you have teams that play one another, a small bubble where they don't get to play against different kind of meta, and they're going to have four men just pushing one side, and then you'll have one player lurking. Super simplistic style. So how do these little stylistic differences mesh up here? When you're playing against a niche country against another. That's interesting to see. Again, I think the style that, like I said, Spotnet was throwing at their opponents previously on Kabul could actually be a problematic for Signature, because I'm not sure how used to they are playing against it. How well do they adapt? Because that's a part of Counter-Strike that, in theory, again, you think of it makes sense, but on the spot in the game, you might not be able to adapt as well.
Yeah, adaptability is a massive part. I believe that might just play a massive role in this here game. It might be just a winning point for Signature.
Yeah. In terms of the way that the two teams match up, it's very interesting that you've effectively got the best Thai team, who've won all the Thai championships so far in 2017, against the best Middle East team, who've won the Arab Gaming Championships, and obviously winning the minor qualifier as well to get here. So some bragging rights, at the very least, between these two, best of their particular regions.
Yeah.
But are they just facing off to find out who can lose to Renegades, or can they lift themselves? Because we're going to need to see something better from these two teams if they want to go any further, right?
At this moment in time, and on the maps that we've seen, and on their gameplay, and on their prowess, it does seem like this is a matchup between two lambs to the slaughter. One of them is going to finally have to face Renegades, and probably most likely one of them is going to have to, die out to us. But then again, we've seen some very interesting gameplay so far. For example, from Flash, we did not expect for them to be pounding Renegades the way they did onto Cobblestone. We've just seen Renegades absolutely dominate on that map, but it happened nonetheless. So, of course, at the end of the day, you would never know what happens. This is why I'd like to stick around and watch what happens until the end, because you would never estimate a good surprise.
You're lying.
I
think you're lying. I think you're lying. I think you're lying. And I think you're lying because you are tired and you want to go to bed.
No, I love a good surprise. This is why I'm lying. I love a good surprise, and I'd love to see one today.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I would imagine, Natalie, that's going to have to be the biggest surprise we've seen almost all year, isn't it?
If that was to happen?
Yeah.
Don't think it is.
Yeah. So let's not look too far forward then. Let's try and enjoy the fact that these two teams are going to go head-to-head.
For these two teams, this is a learning experience. This here is their chance to play against better opposition, teams that are in a different tier from them. Even though this is not Tier 1, it's not even Tier 2 tournament to some extent, but still, they're getting to play against different teams that they don't play on a daily basis. So I think for that, this is great for them. But I don't think they are not looking into going into the playoffs or contesting for the major. They probably know that themselves. For them, it's about gaining experience.
And they're definitely getting that. As you can see, both teams getting ready on the stage right now. I keep looking at the chap who I guess is doing my role in Chinese. It seems like he's got a yellow and red hat on all the time, but actually it's the logo from the team. Spotnet behind him, but I did look at that earlier and thought, the guy's got a really cool Mohican. I don't know why I'm seeing things
We got to
now.
stop there. Did you just say Mohican?
Yeah.
You mean Mohican?
No, a Mohican.
Right.
What are you, Irish?
I'm bowing out of this conversation, boys.
Sweet Lord. Really? An Irishman picking me up for my English? Really?
Well, you would, you know what I mean.
Really? Are we going now? Is that how low we want to sink right now? I'm looking forward to this, but is there a favourite in this game? Because we didn't really see an awful lot from either of them in the first matches. But did you see something, Natalie, that would suggest that we do have a favourite?
Not really. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to sugarcoat this. I think it's very hard to say. I think the one thing that comes to my mind is what I've been saying here is just the rawness of the way that Spotnet was playing could be surprising for Signature. But at the same time, Signature was showing that they can play slow pace, but they like to play faster pace. So they seem to be able to have those different kind of ways to play. But the way they were executing or the way they were committing to bomb sites were just lackluster. The distance between the players was far too long. They were not utilizing grenades properly, like, for example, pulp flashing to a corner once they're going in to make it harder for potential CT to make a play. So you see someone like Karsa then get like a triple kill before they even get anywhere near to a bomb site. So there's so many like little tiny fundamental parts that these both teams seem to be kind of oblivious to that it's really hard for me to say that one or the other would be heavy favorite going into this.
What would you like to see in terms of styles? Do you want to see that run and gun? Both of them just going head to head, like a couple of heavyweights in the middle?
That would be beautiful. You know, like taking two little soldiers, toy soldiers, and kind of knocking them against
just
each
smashing each other.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, be fun for us, wouldn't it?
It would indeed. But I would still think I would slightly favor Team Signature in this battle just because of their adaptability. Of course, Spotnet have that bit of an element of surprise, and if this would have been the first match of the day for Team Signature as well, they might have been surprised. But now they kind of know how Spotnet likes to play on their aggressive style, so they might just adjust their gameplay, because you have to remember they're the ones that adjust. So I would give them some sort of a favor, probably double digits perhaps for both of the teams, but I would say Signature wins.
Okay, we're moving closer towards the start of this match, and Veto's are just around the corner. I wonder if we don't have the Veto's right now. I'm being told it's Cobble first though, so I guess that's probably a fairly safe map for both teams, Nato, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's both teams like to play it. It seems, look at their map pools, but I think pretty much all of them are in terms of how the maps are spread for these teams. So it's hard to say if there's going to be a massive advantage in terms of which maps come into play. But going into for Cobblestone is something that Spotnet already played then previously, so they'll have a grasp of what's going on. Be it that they played super interesting style of Counter-Strike for sure, but still, you know, they'll have to have learned a little bit and then get the pacing right at least.
And at least it favors their fast pushes, because of course you have that B-sided strategy, that solid B-sided strategy that Paul was suggesting. So
I'm not so sure I would share the enthusiasm for that, Boogie, but thank you. Yes, yeah, I'm not so sure I would go with solid.
I have to be nice somehow.
It's a strategy, I think, is what we'd call it, of some kind. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what other maps do you want to see for these two? In particular, Spotnet, what sort of map would suit their strategy other than Dust 2?
Yeah, I don't think, like, a lot of the times it seems like Asian teams are not good at adapting to new maps, like, for example, Inferno, now that it's come into play. Nuke has usually been something they don't play, so it's usually the common ones like Mirage, for example. It's a map that a lot of them seem to be liking and actually are pretty good on. For example, Tyloo, you know, they've had some great opposites on that map. Cobblestone definitely being a map, but we see a lot of them play. So also, I'm expecting maybe Mirage being the pool.
Okay, all right, we're going to get more from you two after the matchup, but I'm hearing that the players are ready to go for game number 1 in this best of 3, remember, in the elimination match. Who stays and who goes? Let's find out as we head over to our commentary team for game number 4 of the day.
Thank you very much, Red Eye. Yes, we're going to find out which of these two juggernauts, titans, insert name here, is going to be going home today. I think it's safe to say that the first performance, and Natu said this himself, very, very poor. Red Eye also mentioned this, that there wasn't much to see from either of those. And I know that you trawling through a bunch of demos and getting as much research done as possible, it was hard for you to find a lot of info on them as well.
Yeah, I mean, there just wasn't really a whole lot there, particularly for Spotnet. I mean, 3 of these guys were relatively unknown figures until they played in the Arab Championship and the minor qualifier, right? Only like Issa and Zero Cool have kind of, you know, played around in other teams or, you know, were part of other events or something like that. Particularly like playing national events for the country of Jordan, you know, since those 2 are actually coming from that country, the other 3 coming from Lebanon. And so, yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot there. I will say that, you know, what I did see from them was usually just very aggressive stuff, like rush every round, a lot of 1-4 setups, a lot of, you know, just 5-man, you know, plow through a site type situation. And they kind of held true to that a lot of the time. You know, they did vary a little bit, which was nice to see, you know, some diversity. But that was their bread and butter, was basically to, you know, hit a site. And at least they stuck to that, whereas a team like Signature, who usually is also fairly aggressive, they seemed like really timid in their train match. So at least, you know, Spotnet seemed more comfortable, I guess, and like stuck to what they normally do, where Signature really didn't. And that might be a difference maker in a situation like this.
Well, only time's going to tell. As Boogie said on the desk, though, it should be mentioned that Signature did have a chance to watch Spotnet and what they could bring to the table, so they could have taken a few notes down there. But we are going to be jumping into this matchup very shortly. Utility picked up on both sides. Pretty standard. Nothing's really catching my eye.
Yeah. One thing to note here from talking to Bluz is that Spotnet doesn't actually usually scrimmage against the Asian teams. Like, they get better ping actually playing against European teams. So even though they're both playing in the Asian minor, and you would think, okay, like, since they're from a somewhat similar region, they might be familiar with one another. They're probably not. Like, they probably really haven't played against each other. So that kind of does add, like, a different element as well to this. Top kick, of course. You thought you hit that cough button, and you definitely slipped a little bit there on that. Is that your thoughts on the game?
I apologize. Yes. Just clearing my throat.
Well, it looks like we're going to see Spotnet try to clear this mid-slope, as we're going to see them be running up. Gig's going to be able to get the headshot there in the jabs, though, so it's a good start. But, again, Spotnet, true to their form, just moving very quickly, trying to see if they can't get in this A-bomb site.
Giggs with his USP, though, has dropped the bomb out, and with Tor on the back of the site not getting cleared, that will not bode well for Spotnet, who are dropping like flies. It's all on zero cool. Not for too much longer. Rolex gets him, and Signature do start off this best of 3 in winning ways.
Must be doing yoga. It's able to bend his back that way. That's pretty insane. Like, I don't think the body's supposed to be able to do that. So, Ragdoll's always obviously being fun in Counter-Strike. But, yeah, Spotnet just kind of running into a wall there a little bit. Great defense by Signature over on the A-bomb site. Pretty well distributed as well. I mean, the only person who didn't get involved there was Stickies or STK. Is how else I've seen him referred to. So we'll go ahead and get those 3 UMPs, get the 2 M4s as well. A little bit of utility on 3 of their players. We are going to see the Tech 9 buy up here from Spotnet. Didn't get the bomb plant, so just going to look to see if they can force up, make something happen, as they are playing pretty well spread across the map, however.
Yeah, bomb still out in mid. Lots of time to play with. And with 2 flashes, there is a potential gateway for Spotnet to get out into the likes of mid, or even try and sell a fake over on the B side of the map. But it would suggest that we are going to start to see more of a confrontation through long. 2 players strong, going to be pushing through. Tor at the back of the side, and Rolex with his M4 up close. And will be trying to spray down. Actually comes out second best there, running out of bullets and running out of health. It has been somewhat of a fake, though, as the B player of Issa has gone down. He was pretty impressive in the previous game.
Yeah, he was like the one kind of shining moment for Spotnet, was just the fact that Issa was actually playing pretty well. So see if he can carry that over. Not so much in this round as Jabs and Senpai left alone here over towards the A-bomb site. Jabs coming through, only to be met by Sticky's UMP. And so Signature will go ahead and get the 2-0 start. And they also do so fairly cleanly, right? They only lose 1 player there, so it allows them to keep the UMPs in play without having to rebuy. And, you know, really try to see if they can build up their economy.
Spotnet right back in with pistols, but just P250s and a flashbang. And this is where you feel like Signature really should start to edge ahead. And Spotnet earlier seemed to be far better on their T side than their CT side, so I suppose from their perspective, you're hoping they can put up some digits here.
Yeah, again, like if they can hit the frags, their explosive, you know, 1-4 aggressive play style can definitely net you some rounds if you hit the right spot at the right time. So we're going to see them go heavy down, drop down this time around. They love to get heavy drop, but that nade stack from Genius particularly going to just put them to a screeching halt. And this will be mopped up fairly easily. To be expected, the second round's really the more difficult one. That was kind of a breeze. And so this is where we'll actually see, you know, a true round to see what Spotnet's made of against Signature.
Yeah, AKs across the board. This is kind of what we were discussing earlier with the UMP. When you're on the desk, there's no need for a lot of teams to actually trade out. You'll see a lot of these circumstances come to fruition where they'll just hold on to 2 of them. Yep. Like in pure rifle rounds, an SMG being able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of an AK is just madness.
Especially on a map like Cobblestone, where you can play like Broken Wall or up close on Drop Down Room, and you can make sure you kind of force close range battles to where you can really get the most out of the UMP is also kind of key to the map layout, as we are going to see Spotnet just gathering up all 5 here on Long B. Utility coming out. Here comes the execute.
This is where the UMPs could really shred Spotnet on top of everything else. And Emperor goes out first, gets himself a headshot. He is down to 7. The bomb carrier as well needs to make sure he doesn't go too aggressive. He's boosting up onto the tree. There's more avenues of aggression from the terrorist perspective, and they are getting the kills now. Signature down to Tor and Rolex, and it seems like Tor's already pieced out. Wants no part of this round. Back towards A. Leaves Rolex hanging. This will be Spotnet's first round.
Yeah, just, really brute forcing their way through the B bomb site's really the only way to put that. Kills coming across the board again from basically the entire team except for Senpai. So, again, just a full-on team effort to break open that B site and get that first round on the board. And again, they'll be able to save a lot from it as well. I mean, they even save some utility. 4 AKs get saved. Head armor still on the table. So they'll, try to get them creeping back into the economic game. I feel like I'm playing like a surf map on that camera angle. Like you're just coming down the slope of the building.
It's
like
so
that.
relaxing, though, isn't it, at the same time? Because we're already wrecked because of the time of day and everything and the lack of sleep. But I don't know, I'm watching that and I'm just sort of like drifting away.
Sometimes it gets a little wild and I feel a little bit dizzy, like a little motion sickness coming on. But some of them are nice and smooth. Cool little element there.
So Giggs is going to go for an AWP.
Yeah. One thing you'll notice about Spotnet, by the way, just like kind of a quick note on them, they very rarely go for AWPs, particularly on the T side. If they ever do have it, it's usually like Zero Cool, and maybe now and then you'll see someone else use it, but they really like to focus on these 5 AKs on most of their T rounds.
Yeah, that's what they were predominantly going for earlier, and then they hit a roadblock and they tried double AWP setup, which is really interesting. Didn't quite work out for them, but I guess that goes to show that their frenetic play is with the AKs. Jabs going to go down first to the hands of Rolex. And he was one of the guys, actually, in the qualifiers for this minor that really shone, Jabs. Against Risky, he put up some massive stats, but he's been having a bit of an off day so far. Senpai and Issa both come in for kills. And although Jabs goes down first, Signature now only have 2 players left alive. Make that just Rolex. He's down outside the doors. And his days are numbered. Spotnet bouncing right back into this.
Yeah, I mean, it started to look good for Signature there with the kind of aggressive play over towards mid-door and getting the opening pick. Rolex getting those frags, and he's actually still continuing to pop off, and there's still a chance here. He's got a kid. He's got time to perhaps try to work this thing out. He's already got 3 kills. It'd be the ace clutch. Maybe he's able to pull this out, but these positions are so good. It's going to be really hard to break that open.
Yeah. As soon as they don't face him anymore, that's pretty much any chance he has gone. But still, I mean, getting a couple kills in the retreat's going to bolster his buy in the next round a little bit if he wants to go for some more nades and take some of the economy off the table for Spotnet additionally. But it is still just delaying the inevitable. Spotnet will pick up a second. And of course, both of their rounds have came off the back of assault rifles.
Yeah, again, just really liking the 5 AK play, really liking these explosive B executes, and it's going to be Issa, again, kind of the one guy that was doing well for them in their first match, is continuing to play well. Good individual efforts from Rolex, like to stop things early around and like force Spotnet to kind of adjust, but when they did, make that transition over to the B side, there really just wasn't much from Signature greeting them. So we will see them now roll over to the opposite side of the map. Looks like they want to get fast up mid-slope once more, wasting no time getting through the doors.
Hyper-aggressive plays. This is where you're expecting the CTs to maybe pick off a couple stragglers, but it's actually Rolex that loses his head. About a millimeter was showing off the wall, and now Tor has to run through the smoke into danger. Zero Cool will dispatch of him. Jabs very much rinsing and repeating from where his team left off onto Stickies. And now Giggs and Genius. I mean, surely they can't clutch this round. All on Genius. The bomb is dropped in an unfavorable position for the terrorists, but there's just too many players to fend off against now. And there we have it. Senpai connects the UMP headshot, 3-3.
Yeah, Spotnet is just, true to their normal routine, is playing very fast-paced, and they actually catch Signature kind of disjointed on that A-bomb site. Rolex and Tor were, well isolated from one another, so they were able to kind of just, get these basically, 4-on-1 and 5-on-1 duels, particularly using that utility to flush Tor into awkward space to get a free frag to kind of finish things off over on that side of the map, and catching the rotation, no problem. And you can see Signature's now having to, make tough choices economically because they've run out of funds. Spotnet in the meantime actually knowing that and going to go ahead and take advantage and get some MAC 10, see if they can't farm some extra cash.
Money on their minds. But Jabs is going to go down first with his MAC 10. Here comes the P250. That kind of a range, anything's possible. Tor has one a little bit longer, does actually land it onto Issa. And now Senpai in a 1-on-2. Does have an M4, was using the P250 as he had to reload, but now he's got 30 bullets back in the magazine. He's ready to go. Molly and HE thrown out. Rolex is being dropped ever so low, but comes out with a CZ. And Signature with pistols of all things, bounce back with a round of their own.
Yeah, of course they'd end the drought with the P250 and the CZ.
Standard.
Yeah, you know.
Just CS things.
Indeed. And they will be able to get a nice buy off the back of that. Everyone decked out with M4s and full utility. Of course, Spotnet was able to bank up a pretty good amount of money, so they'll be able to buy right back into this round. Even a drop AK going on there thanks to some extra cash on one of the Spotnet players. So they'll get pretty much everything they'll want. I'm sure they'll just continue to keep the pacing high as we do once again see them just go into kind of this 1-4 set. They do like to try to put this mid lurker through connector on rounds like this and just try to see if they can add like another angle attack, try to be sneaky. So we'll see if that comes into play or not here, as we do see a lot of people just gathering up in this B lobby once more.
I've gone for the boost. Seen this a couple times already by Spotnet. Molly a bit too deep and the smoke will extinguish it anyway. The flashbang is on point, will take down Jabs, and they know there's a second player there. So the trade thoroughly going the way of the counter-terrorists this time around. Still 3 healthy members alive for Spotnet, and a lot of time to use them. And this could be the right avenue of aggression. Just Tor's on A by himself, and he could be about to get swamped by terrorists.
It's about this connector player on Spotnet. Can he actually get into connector and wreak havoc? That's going to be the key, because there are 2 players already on the A-bomb site that Zero Cool Company have to go up against. So really this connector player has to try to make something happen to help open up a little bit more space for them.
Well, Spotnet have slowed down, and that's allowed a second player in the form of Rolex to go onto the balcony. He's having second thoughts, though, having cold feet about his position. Issa should not be getting that frag. Tor had him dead to rights, had the drop on him. And now Issa's going to go in for a second one. How costly could that mistake have been by Tor? Bomb planted. It's still a 2-on-2. As Zero Cool connects onto Stickies, he does get dinked in the process. Remaining 2 terrorists are both very low. Combined just 40 health. Genius with the first one. Does have a kit too, but the bomb should be able to get defended by Issa. Although, actually, that being said, he has to come out in the open. That's going to cost him his life. Signature get the clutch. A 4K for Genius. And out of nowhere, a 5-3 lead.
Yeah, really well done there by Signature to make that one happen. Genius with 4 kills, so really well done. That jumps him up ahead, you know, as the top fragger on the server and, of course, for his team. Really just came down to the fact that, you know, even though Issa made a couple of really big plays to get that A-bomb side open and get the bomb down, it just still wasn't at a good angle for his position. You know, having to come up mid-slope, when the bomb gets tapped, he can't just quickly jiggle peek it and make sure no one's diffusing. He has to, like, really commit to coming up to, you know, getting vision. And that just gave freedom there for Genius to, you know, jump and pop him. And now, like you said, the big lead may be being built here by Signature. There's still a lot of money on Spotnet, though. And, again, they're going to waste no time making their way up into this A-bomb site.
Yeah, it puts the 3-round spree to an end. Spotnet won't be deterred. Emperor going to be going right in. Had a very slow start in the previous match. Tor gets the drop onto Jabs. And a second as well, and Zero Cool wasn't even looking. He was looking more towards the van. Don't know if that's a lapse in communication or what, but it cost him his life. Minute and 10 left on the clock. And Senpai somehow able to get the frag onto Stickies from behind. What is happening here, Dust? My mind is melting.
Yeah, it's just a lot of trading, a lot of individual plays. A good bomb toss up onto the balcony. This allows Issa to perhaps be able to get away and plant this bomb in B now. He doesn't have to commit to pushing into A, and he has a good amount of time to just kind of wait things out. So good, you know, decision-making there from Spotnet to, you know, get the bomb into a position where it had more choices and be able to play that out a little bit better. But, yeah, just a lot of kind of crazy individual duels taking place in that situation is really what it boiled down to. Also, I think, you know, Tor did a great job just staying alive. You know, on the A halls, that was kind of a big difference, you know, between when Spotnet was winning rounds at A and that round where they had a lot more trouble doing so. Well, was the fact that Tor was able to kind of anchor things down, but doesn't wind up mattering. And Spotnet now in a great position to tie this game up.
A couple of nades purchased, one for Tor, and I think the other one was Stickies. Interestingly enough, though, normally when you see a double or triple nade pickup, they're going to be thrown in the same area at the same time with the idea of trying to barrel over multiple terrorists. But Tor still has his, and he was out on A long by himself for quite some time. Giggs going to go in with a CZ. Beforehand, Rolex also picked himself up a kill, but this is where the weaponry advantage in the hands of the terrorists should really start to shine through. Sure, the bomb was dropped, but it's easily salvageable, and Jabs, to make matters worse, has landed the detonation onto Sticky. He's already picked up 3. Giggs does come back with one of his own, but he doesn't have Kevlar, and neither does Tor.
Yeah, no kits as well, no utility to retake with either, so this is going to make things a lot more difficult. They may just think about trying to save guns, really, to be honest, try to get the Giggs away with that AK-47, but as I say that, they're actually going for it, and they're able to work together to get a kill, and now it's all on Jabs. He has to, do it with his back up against the wall, and he can't, and so now 2 of the rounds that Signature have won in this half have been off the back of extremely low buys, and I mean, if you're Spotnet, you're kicking yourself, because if you win those 2 rounds and you get their economy out of whack, like you're in a dominant lead, and instead you're behind.
What do you even make of that last round? I mean, Spotnet should never be losing that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Signature were kind of just feeling it out to see, can we get an early pick? Do we have a chance to go for this 2v2? Knowing they didn't have kits, they know that they were pressed for time, but they did find that 1 kill rather quickly, and it gave them the chance to be able to actually go for it, and they capitalized. So, again, just finding ways to grind rounds and even, low buy situations.
Well, Signature now with a 2-round lead, and considering that Spotnet have put their life savings into this round, and they only have 1 AK with pistols, this is a real chance for Signature to open the lead further. Rolex will be throwing out a flash and pulling himself back to the site. Meanwhile, Connector is being under control. And not for the first time, we're seeing Tor wrap himself round the back of the terrorists and deliver fatal blows. Zero Cool, though, with the Tech 9. Here's a dispatch of 3 players, and suddenly it's in a 1-on-1. Surely, this seesaw of Counter-Strike can't keep tipping back and forth. Is Signature going to finally take control of this map? Or is Zero Cool going to pull off one hell of a clutch? It's looking like it could go either way at this stage. It's sloppy. It's not great Counter-Strike, but Rolex is going to get his 3K, and Zero Cool will be gutted about that.
Yeah, I mean,
nice try.
A lot of these rounds are coming down to just awkward individual plays, like just things that you wouldn't expect can happen unfolding, like Zero Cool just being able to do this much. Gives him to a 1v1 he almost won, just misses a few key shots with that M4 when he comes through the doorway, which gives Signature a way through. And now they will increase their lead, and they have Spotnet back onto another low buy. So we might finally see someone really start steering out front now based on how the money situation is played out. And Spotnet will, again, just gather up very heavily over here towards A halls. A couple players towards long B to poke and prod, maybe try to hold people in place, give themselves a more favorable duel on the A side with the bomb carrier. They have pulled that extra rotation as well over towards B.
Could catch Signature in transit, and if Tor's not careful, he's going to get picked off from the side. Does really get away with that one. Another second and he would have been a dead man. There's no 2 ways about it. Instead, he's taking control of a very sketchy situation. And Senpai can get a couple of kills from this would be a miracle. Not going to happen. 8-4. And Signature do keep all their weapons alive, so now they're starting to build that economy for themselves.
I'll tell you what, Tor got really lucky here. I mean, he really wasn't giving any attention to long A. I mean, he had 4 people on B. He was really committed to mid-slope, and that could have gotten very nasty. Could have easily at least been a bomb plant, but luckily Tor able to hit a couple of reaction shots to not allow that to happen as we're into the last few rounds of the first half here. And Spotnet will be back onto a full AK buy with an okay amount of utility, so they should be able to work out a play now, as we do see, again, just really liking this 1-4B opening. Pretty standard stuff for Cobblestone, to be fair.
Yeah, this is almost the default, I would say, at least to start things off with for most teams. Senpai going to be the player to watch the flank. Signature have no real reason to do that, though. I mean, these last few rounds, they've not been playing aggressive. They've not been trying to get around the back of the terrorists. Yeah. It's going to be more of the same. If Aimbronk don't fix it.
Yeah, they've done well at holding B platform and even at times challenging long B and disrupting Spotnet as they're setting up. Picking off a couple of players, keeping them stalled out, denying them full firepower to work out their full play. But this time around, they'll be able to get in the drop down room without taking any damage, so they'll have a little bit more to work with now as far as map control, trying to split this B bomb site a few different angles.
Pushing their way out of B long. Quite passive positions, though, by Signature. They have 4 players strong on B. Coop, back as Statue, Rock, and now on the double doors, and Tor is going to be able to use the AWP to the long-range benefit. lands himself a kill. Giggs watching on the cross to make sure no one gets out of drop. Finally, Zero Cool does peek at the right place at the right time. Looking for a second. Not going to happen. And Signature stride ever more towards that finish line. 9-4 with Spotnet now on Tech9's.
Even though they got that added map control, you never really saw that explosion come out from Spotnet, right? They kind of trickled out, so to speak. And so they never really able to overwhelm Signature, who were able to just hold passive positions, just play off of each other, set up crossfires, you know, win their key duels, particularly Tor getting that opening AWP pick off the first player platform. Certainly helped things along. And so, yeah, you've really seen them grasp this game. They've won the last few rounds in a row. Like, probably the biggest streak of this map is happening right now for Signature. As you know, you're coming down to the last couple of rounds, and again, you have Spotnet on just like a Tech9 buy.
Yep. And it's not even like a half buy. They actually invested almost fully into this.
That smoke shouldn't be there. Up on top of the wall. So someone messed up just a little bit here, and some good counter nades to slow things down from Signature.
Oh, look at the burn damage as well. Icer and Jaws both come through and get destroyed by it. Emperor and Senpai moving their way onto the site, but there's too many angles to cover. Sticky's going to capitalize on that with the 3K. And yeah, as you highlighted, this is the biggest spree that we've had. Only one round has gone the way of Spotnet in the last 7 or 8. And at one point, this was looking like it was anyone's half. You know, it was 3-3. And then I think at one stage it was 5-4, and then after that, Signature have just turned it up a couple notches.
And there was a lot of scrappy situations that took place in that period of time that, you know, I guess you could call them clutch rounds that went to the favor of Signature. But mostly just kind of sloppy rounds that were really just back and forth. And fortunately for Signature, they've been able to kind of get things under control and really get more dominant on their CT side. They really haven't given Spotnet very many openings in this past winning streak. They've really been shutting them down. Good counter nades. You know, Genius right here, flushing them out of position, challenging Longby and winning the fights. You can't have that happen if you're Spotnet when you're trying to gather up and you're just getting picked apart.
Wow. Zero Cool gets destroyed. Yeah, I mean, on B long, at the very least, you need an avenging kill. You need a 1-for-1 trade if you're a terrorist. You can't afford to allow 2 kills to come down from the same player. That's just, it's a cardinal sin of Cobblestone.
I feel like every time Signature has challenged Longby, they've won that out in a pretty convincing fashion, and that certainly hurts. There's just 2 left now for Spotnet, but Rolex already picking one of them off, and so now it's just Issa at a 1v4. He does not have the bomb in his possession. It's way on the other side of the map. He doesn't have any utility to work with either. Does have time, but this would be asking a lot out of him.
Yep, 40 seconds, but with the bomb not being under his control, and more importantly with Giggs threading a headshot delivered first class through mid. That is the half being laid to rest. 11-4 in the end to Signature. That's one hell of a final few rounds there.
Yeah, we've had a lot of halves end 11-4, just be really dominant for one team, and all these games so far have ended in dominant fashion as well. You know, a lot of 16-5 or even worse situations so far in this tournament. And Signature trying to see if they can't be on the better end of that deal this time around. Of course, they were the ones that were getting dished that heavy loss earlier today, but now they're up against an opponent that's more on their level, I guess you could say. They're not as outclassed, and so far they're thriving right now. You know, pretty good frag distribution as well for the entire team, to be fair. I mean, sure, Rolex has been, you know, up there at the top, but it's not as if anyone is lagging too far behind.
Yeah, everyone's pulling their weight. It's always great to see. Spotnet certainly couldn't say the same. Issa was their standout player in the last game. It was really the only player that was doing anything for Spotnet. And speaking of the man, with a USP in his hand, he's going to try and lay down the law from Chicken Coop. He's going to get himself one, and he is still alive. So while he's alive, there's a crossfire being established. Stickies has laid him down, though. But now he finds himself with another 2 players to find and potentially frag. Emperor from the side. This is where the Glock not necessarily at its most useful. And the boost is going to come up on tree, and that probably will be this round running away now from Signature. I was going to say, how is Sticky survived that long? But down he goes. Second pistol will go to Spotnet. Just what they're looking for.
Yeah, that can get them right back into this. They'll be able to get those UMPs out and about. We'll see if Signature wants to go for the Tech 9 head armor buy. Usually pretty common in situations like this. And they will not stray away from that, as we will see 3 Tech-9s put up and a Deagle on Rolex. A little bit of utility as well. And they're very similar to Spotnet in the sense they'd like to play very aggressive Counter-Strike, like to do the 5-man and 1-4 type stuff. The thing is, though, I felt like on Train they got very timid, and they never really played the style of Counter-Strike that they are comfortable playing and that they're known for. So I want to see, in this game, if they, make sure that they stick to their roots and what they're used to doing and kind of demonstrating some confidence. I think having a lead like this certainly helps that along.
Yeah, I was going to say on Train, they just seem to freeze up completely, like maybe showing too much respect. We often talk about disrespect and maybe not giving the enemy the credit it deserves. Well, on the other side of that, if you give them too much credit, it's going to change your mentality. It's going to change how you come into the game. I think that's exactly what we saw from Signature. So let's see if they are a bit more freed up. As you say, having a lead is definitely going to ease that. 5 UMPs, no huge surprise at the composition of weaponry that Spotnet currently possess. Signature still with a flash and a smoke. Smoke and flash both used to take control of drop zone. But Spotnet had no interest. They're actually playing more of a passive defense and allowing the crossfire to now flourish. Just outside a connector. Zero Cool with a P250. Finishes off what he started onto Giggs. And our Signature trying to very quickly, rapidly move their way onto the A side of the map, but Zero Cool is having none of it. Tech-9 whipped out. Alex is doing quite a bit of damage, but is not going to get the clutch. So Spotnet stride forward one more time.
Yeah, I mean, really the focus there was on connector, and Spotnet handled it very well. You could see that the idea was to probably split that A bomb site, but the connector portion was well cut off. And so that will put another point on the board for the team from Lebanon and Jordan, going up against, of course, Signature from Thailand. And this, of course, will be a lighter affair from Signature since the Tech-9 didn't work out. They will take pretty much a full save here to make sure they get a bye in the next round. So this should be where Spotnet continues to be able to inch their way closer, close that gap early on.
Quite a bit of nade damage early doors in round 18. Giggs, Genius, both feeling the bulk of the effects. MP9 purchased by Zero Cool, not a weapon you see that much in the current state of affairs.
Yeah, it just feels like the UMP gives you so much more for even a little bit less money, right? So
I mean, the perks of the MP9 is it shreds people without Kevlar. It
yeah,
absolutely
that's the
destroys them, which is why Zero's gone for it here, I feel. But yeah, if you're against Kevlar, then the UMP is still like actually a decent choice. MP9 not so much. It really falls off the edge of a cliff when it comes to Kevlar.
Of course, you've had a couple of players who, like, just for whatever reason, can have such massive impact with it. Like Fur, I remember used to just like run rampant with it on Mirage in particular. Still can for SK, so you definitely have seen its place at times for certain players on certain maps. But yeah, it seems like usually the UMP is going to outspec it in most occasions. We'll actually see the continue in. I'm not surprised to see UMPs continue, but the MP9 continuing.
Yeah, that is very surprising to me. And he had enough to go for an M4.
Yeah. I don't know if this will come back to haunt him or not. As we already see Signature just rush into B. It looks like they have been slowed down by a smoke just a bit. You know, they're not going to be able to come out the way they wanted to, so they'll just kind of hold and then play a little bit more default now.
Yeah, I am very puzzled by that, especially considering they have 4 SMGs. I mean, surely you'd want 2 or 3 more assault rifles in this kind of a scenario, especially when you're trailing by 4 rounds. This is quite a gamble.
Yeah, now, especially since you're up against head-armored opponents, the MP9 can definitely be, like,
yeah,
you know, really kind of obsolete in a situation like this, I guess you could say. But we'll have to see how it plays out as, you know, we're starting to get towards the mid-round, and the smokes are beginning to dissipate on B platform. So it looks like we are seeing Signature, you know, even bringing their mid-lurk back over as well through Dragon Lore. So it seems like B is definitely on the minds of Signature. They do have a couple of smokes and flashes to maybe put a wall down, get something over, try to blind a couple of CTs, put them out of position. Well, this is definitely the intended target now.
Giggs going to go out first. Through the smoke. 40 seconds. More than enough time, especially if they can get the entries to go alongside it. And Giggs is going to get himself 2. Tort, meanwhile, silences Zero Cool and goes in for a second. Senpai has to try and rummage together some kind of a miraculous clutch, and he's going to be coming through from the drop zone side. It's where the UMP fall off to certainly start to become an issue. So he's going to pick up the AK and see if he can rummage together a play now through the doors. Time, though, is of the essence. He does have a kit and a bit of utility to expend, but Giggs will put him down. And again, it's very surprising to see that they held on to the MP9. I can't help but feel that if they had an extra M4, things could have gone differently. I mean, sometimes you'll see a Mac 10 taken into the next round, but from the perspective the T's are, you're expecting, especially in an economic, sticky place, that a couple players will skimp on head armor, and that's where the Mac 10 can still shred through the head. MP9, I mean, you're always going to pick up full Kevlar on the terrorist side, because obviously the M4A1S and the M4A4 therefore aren't just a one tap anymore. So it's very confusing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conservative approach. It's a little bit greedy as well, but, I mean, you see the result of it. They still get a full buy here. We're going to see Signature wasting no time, just pouring through the broken wall, and again, it's Giggs leading the charge. Going to get a lot of help from his team, though, to get this bomb down with ease. They had no trouble, like a hot knife through butter, into that B bomb site. So they will push it to 13-7. Obviously, Spotnet now have to say these 2 M4s. So it's about all they'll get to contend in the next round.
Yep.
So this is where Signature can really start looking to shut down this map. Again, we talked about how Signature also like to play very aggressive. I felt like they really didn't stick to that identity. They got too scared in their first map. This time around, though, I think they've really kind of have that focus that they need to perform well, and so far it's going off great. No mercy from Genius on the chicken.
I was going to say, it's a bit rude, wasn't it? A bit harsh. What did that chicken ever do to you, mate? Looks like Zero Cool could maybe keep on to his M4 alongside Emperor, but I think it's totally fine for Signature to throw away a couple of weapons in the pursuit of taking those away. They have enough to replenish, and that would have been a horrible body blow to Spotnet had they have lost even one of those M4s. Now they've held on to both of them. They can actually force behind it. It's not going to be a pretty buy, but it's going to be something, and that's what they were desperately hoping for. So there you go, FAMAS of all weapons. That's something you don't see too often.
No, not at all. It's pretty much been riddled out of the game due to the power of the UMP, but you still see it here make an appearance now and then. And again, Signature looking to try to work fast. They're slowed down a bit by that incendiary, which it gets partially extinguished as well. Smoke out, blocking their vision onto the platform. But you can see that they really just want to keep working this side of the map, keep putting pressure on the platform, maybe even trying to get in the drop-down room as well, get that extra angle of attack. They will take it a little bit slower this time, but we do see Genius setting up a flash here to maybe help his teammate get a peek onto the box.
Feeling out the defense more than anything else. Gonna throw in a flash and a smoke. Now, key thing to mention here is that Spotnet only have 4 nades left. HE, 2 flashes, 1 smoke.
Yeah.
And just shy of a minute to play with. So this is looking very bare indeed.
Yeah, still plenty of utility, though, here for Signature to actually run their execute. They have a couple of Molotovs. An incendiary picked up by Giggs as well from the previous round. They will have those 3 smokes as well. Few flashes mixed in there. So, again, they can still run whatever play they'd like to do. And it looks like they've elected to just work up into middle slope. Now, no one's rotated off of A. And, in fact, Emperor has this boosted position that can be tricky to deal with. And he gets the first kill.
Again, though, no avenging kill. A bit too slow. 20 seconds left. Signature needed someone already up on long A, and yes, they're going to get the kill, but is there enough time? Well, apparently there is, Dust, because they're getting all the entries they could ask for.
It's getting a little bit tight, though, because Tor's kind of isolated from his team. He now has the potential with access. Now that the bomb is actually playing. They got a little bit scary there for just a brief moment, but now it's going to be so difficult for Spotnet. Tor comes through, no problem. That's a 13th round coming in for Signature, and they're really starting to inch into a map 1 victory at this point. Look at how low the money is. And now you're basically forced to just force buy here on out because you don't just want to give them a free, ride to overtime worst case.
But Spotnet actually I'm going to force. That is a little bit surprising. Yeah, I'd have expected them to force there.
I mean, they put the Deagles, and I mean, that's really just the gun. You're either going to get the headshot or you're not kind of thing, I feel like. So you give yourself somewhat of a chance, but still make sure you have full money to play for OT. As again, Signature will just stampede through this B-bomb site. No real resistance.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the dueling, with the aim with these 2 teams, Signature are leaps and bounds ahead from what I can see so far. And it's good to see as well, we discussed this before in train. They seem to freeze up a little bit, got in their own minds. Well, I think it's safe to say that this T-side performance has been free-flowing. No
Yeah,
real
certainly.
issues.
I mean, they've whenever they've wanted to play fast, they've done it. No hesitation, and it's been effective. Had a couple rounds that got a little bit dicey because they did wait it out. Like even the round they won previous to what that's about to happen here. Certainly got a little bit scary from 1-on-A. Almost ran out of time, but did get some key entries to kind of avoid that. And so now they are going to have map point, and so looks like we'll continue to see one-sided games in this tournament unless Spotnet here on this bye can march it all the way back. That's asking a lot of them. They've never streaked more than 3 rounds throughout this, entire map. And of course, part of that was just winning pistol in this half and not, losing to the force buy.
Yeah, this would have to be a miracle. It would have to be the great escape if they were to take us to overtime from this point. And some Herculean throws by Signature on top of that. They have looked very good in this map. Against weaker opposition, though, I think it's safe to say, from their first game that we saw them earlier today on. Loads of nades being exchanged on B long, but again, Spotnet, deja vu. 1 minute 30, and they have 4 flashes and 2 smokes. And one of those smokes has just been tossed out. So, I mean, they're already exceptionally low on their nade count.
Yeah, it's dwindling even more now, just a flash and a smoke left. They do have that 1 kid on jab, so that buys them a little bit more time if they ever have to do a retake, but of course not much to use to be able to do it. And now they don't really have counter nades to slow Spotnet down or do anything to throw a wrench in the plans of Signature. They can kind of just work things out. So you see them setting a couple of nades over here towards Long B. So again, the focus continuing to be on this side of the map.
$50 seconds to go, and Genius, alongside the rest of his team, now going to start to filter their way back over onto the A side. Emperor on the cannons, going to be joined on balcony by Zero Cool. 30 seconds. Again, Signature are leaving this one very, very last minute. Going to be throwing a smoke, I assume, onto the doors and trying to put down some nades on the side. Rolex going to be coming from the side. Emperor hasn't budged an inch, and now he's going to just tee off with 2 kills. The bomb's also dropped out, looking for a third. Won't be happening, but as they turn their attention to him, Zero Cool has struck. So the first of 8 map points will be denied. Zero Cool keeping Spotnet in this.
Signature, of course, the clock being their worst enemy there, just taking way too long to make the decision to come up A. So any little thing that would happen that would slow them down would basically lose them the round, and you could see that Emperor playing over there towards cannons was kind of the thorn in their side, so to speak, to really break that thing down. And so that's kind of step 1 along the long process to actually force the overtime here. It's still Signature with a very good buy. All the utility that they could ever want, and they have full AKs and head armor and all that jazz. So they will actually shift their focus here early in the round. A lot more presence towards A right off the bat. In fact, there's no 1B. So you can see they're really looking to perhaps do some type of mid-slope long A sweep. But the Giggs is still keeping an eye out, though, making sure that no flank is going to happen.
Yeah, another slow round here by Signature.
Great thing about this is Signature hears that smoke. They know that they can, get a lot of this space for free now. That these guys are playing, pretty passive. They're not playing forward on danger or anything like that. Don't really know about mid-slope, but at the very least, they've been able to get very quick control here of long A halls.
Well, they actually go for a double peek, and they do take down Rolex. That's the lurker. Has been consistently over on the A side of the map. He's dead and buried. That could force the hand of Signature to go all systems onto B. But Giggs is all out by himself. Actually pushed ahead of the rest of his team. They're still going to get some kills in retaliation. Tor should be favorite to take down this kill on doors if the player peeks him. Ring around the Rosie. He's going to get the spray down, but then gets traded out by Jabs, who goes down to the hands of Stickies. 1-on-1 bomb is going to get planted. Zero Cool doesn't have any nades, but has just picked up a kit from his fallen comrade. And I'll be looking for the long-range trade with Stickies. Does have a smoke. It'll come down to a pixel showing Sticky's just spotted it, not able to capitalize, not able to connect the dots. He could get another chance in the next few moments, though. Oh, Zero Cool actually lands the shot. And again, Spotnet survive.
Yeah, they're in. They're, hanging in there as long as they can, trying to avoid what might be the inevitable. Signature do have a pretty big lead, and they still have plenty of funds to keep this train rolling. And just in general, they've been way better at winning duels throughout the entire game. We're only just recently seeing Spotnet be able to kind of get the better of Signature and come out with some rounds. As they will still have a chance to force it overtime. They have to win 6 in a row, and they're starting to drain money out of Signature. Like, Signature can't really buy in the next round, for instance, as much. So this will be kind of their best bet, at least for the next few rounds, of just going ahead and closing this with all the utility they have at their disposal. Pouring a lot of it into B, but some good counter utility, slowing them down, buying more time for the rotate.
He's on the alcove once again, is going to get a drop. Rex comes back with one of his own. However, has the damage already been done? Senpai making short work of one of the aggressing terrorists. Boost going to come up onto the tree. Zero Cool's going to take that opportunity to strike with a double spray down. And he seems to be the player that's really standing tall for his team. Now, Genius is still in this. He's picked up one. Gets banged through Chicken Coop, though. And again, you've got to say that Zero Cool is coming up clutch in these rounds.
Yeah, he is, one of the more experienced players on the team. Like himself and Issa are the two that have been around the longest from, their respective scene. So good to see him. He's also the oldest player on the team at 26 from Jordan. So good to see him stepping up when his team needs him most. Trying to, keep them rolling, and you can see the consequences now. Signature do have to take a lighter buy, just Tech 9s. Maybe a couple of flashes to use just to get inside this mid room, but Zero Cool playing up close with the UMP. Gets a couple of kills, gets a little bit awkward here for a second, and actually they break through. This is not too shabby for Signature.
They do break through, but it's a great loss to their health. Genius and Tor are both low. Genius will get laid down. Ace is able to scamper back to the site. A lot of time left, though. Signature don't have to go in for this, but as a result of already putting down some smokes and feeling like they can cordon off some areas and try and capitalize on that, they are going to keep going for this. And there's Rolex with the first. Now bringing it back to the tag teams. Tor and Rolex up against Jabs and Senpai, and Jabs has gone in for the next kill. Tor's going to get the drop onto Senpai. A minute left in this one-on-one, but Jabs has the bomb under control. He has the superior weapon at range. He has a superior health. He simply should not lose this round. But Tor is going to try and make this a bit of a more close-knit confrontation. Jabs is there to squat him away. 15-11 now. Spotnet really going to do this?
It's possible. I mean, it does get a little bit worrisome that even these rounds they are winning are coming down to 1v1 situations. So they're really kind of dancing on the line every single time. It's not stress-free wins by any sense of the imagination. They've really had to work and grind out these rounds to keep the comeback effort alive. And now they're going to be up against a fully decked out Signature once more. They will get the AWP into Zero Cool's hands, something we really haven't seen them work with in this game. It's maybe the first time they've had an AWP period, like between each side, because they didn't really go for it at all on T side, of course. Just not really in their nature, loving to play 5 rifle setups the majority of the time. So I'm kind of curious to see how this will factor into this round, if that'll be kind of the curveball against Signature.
Once again, we're seeing Spotnet with not many nades left, but they managed to somehow make these rounds stick. Smoke and 3 flashes, only 1 kit, and a lot of time to burn. They do, however, have an AWP. And Issa threads the headshot through the smoke partially, did catch a glimpse of Giggs, and that was all he needed to convert into the frag. That's massive. It's the 1B lone player dead and buried.
Yeah, and this allows A to be able to stay in position, not have to worry about rotating. They can just kind of hold angles. And Emperor keeping his eye on the doors here. A little bit of chip damage, but nothing substantial, as we will see the main push making its way out of long A now. And the rotate's coming in from Spotnet, so they're trying to get in here, but Zero Cool does get caught in transition in awkward space. That does hurt quite a lot as these entries are starting to ring in.
Yeah, as soon as Zero Cool falls there, the fate of Emperor pretty much falls with him. He's stuck in a Senpai. left alive. Make it all Lisa. Oh, he's landed a second one. The bomb goes out. Walkies by itself. 20 seconds left, and now it's Stickies who's in a horrible position. With the lesser of the two players in terms of health, he will be able to get the bomb planted. He's confident that smoke will keep Issa at bay. Already with 3 in this round. Both players are fragged down, and Issa comes through with a 4th. It's like Signature don't want to win this map.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just big individual efforts out of Spotnet. We've seen Zero Cool time and time again throughout this half have big plays. Now Issa has one with the quad kill. Really well done by him, just hitting some nice shots to keep Spotnet alive, because it looked like those first few entries coming through from Long A Halls were going to do the trick, particularly when they caught that rotation, you know, trying to get into side actually catches him around the APC area. That makes things very difficult in Spotnet, but again, just big play from Issa, the other kind of veteran on the team, so to speak. And so, yeah, now they're just 3 rounds away from, you know, putting this in OT. This has by far been the closest game we've seen today.
Yeah, but strangely enough, it's just been very much a spree on both CT sides.
Yeah, true.
So although it's close, it doesn't kind of feel that way. But the scoreline does not lie. This is now turning into a nail biter, and Genius kills himself. Was that a 1G? I guess it wasn't technically a 1G, but he burns himself to a crisp.
Yeah, it's one of those where Signature thought they were just going to run through the fire and just be like, you know, screw it, we're not going to get slowed down this time by counter utility. We're going to break through and try to see if we can just get the entries anyhow. Kind of brute force our way in, maybe try to catch them off guard. Really suffered the consequences of that decision. They took so much damage from the incendiaries. I'm not sure if that was a 1G or not, or if like he bounced an HE or something awkwardly and got stuck in it, or what happened there. But nonetheless, I mean, when 2 players are going down to utility, like your 2 front men, and you get held up like that, does not spell good for your team. And now overtime is looking very likely at this point. Signature taking the time out.
Yeah, it's about time they call a timeout. This was 15-7 at one point. That's 6 rounds unanswered. And now Spotnet within reach of overtime. Both sides potentially going 11-4 to the CT side.
Yeah, both teams have really struggled to consistently get something going on T side. Again, we've had a lot of clutch situations come up. So, I mean, it's not like Signature haven't had their chances. They even had, you know, advantageous clutch situations where they really forced like a big play out of their opponent to stay alive, and yet they're not closing out on those rounds. And now, you know, look here, they're forced to take basically a low buy, puts them at a massive disadvantage of winning this round, and you're basically putting all your chips on trying to win this 16-14 at that point, unless you can just hit some nut shots with these Tech 9s, which of course can be possible with that movement accuracy. Definitely some spots in this map where you can put those Tech 9s to good use.
Yeah, the thing with this buy, though, is because they have full round loss bonus now, they'll be able to get a full investment into the next one. So it gives them 2 shots at it in the dying embers of this map. Well, I assume dying embers of this map. I mean, it goes to overtime, and who knows? All bets are off as to who takes this one home. But Signature, I feel like even if they did win from this point, they'll still be disappointed how the end of this map has gone. They should have been wrapped up neatly quite some time ago. Zero Cool has 8 damage, early stages of round 29. Will we go the distance? Signature don't have that much to play with.
And the only good thing here is they do have Impra alone at A. No one's even in connector for Spotnet. They're really focused with 2 on drop-down room and a 3rd kind of floating while 1 holds the B platform. So there is this timing where if they get a smoke down on the door now, they could really overwhelm this player in A site and get the bomb planted. And then from there, who knows?
Awesome using that Tech 9 and Murder Hole, living up to its name. And Gigs from the side is going to pick himself up 1 and a second, and that could be what wins Signature this map. 2 vitally important Tech 9 kills in the best possible moment. Issa has pulled off plays like this before. There's the first one, not going to get a second. And Spotnet now are preying on jabs to pull something truly spectacular out of thin air. There's the first. He does, of course, have the weapon advantage at this stage. surely this isn't possible right now. The time is ticking ever so quickly. That bomb is close to detonation. He's going to have to get up in the face of these two terrorists. He's being tagged up left and right. And finally, Signature have put this map to rest, but my goodness, was that labored in the end?
Yeah, it took way longer than it should have, but then it came down to just catching a great timing on attacking the A bomb side, not really letting that rotation set in. It was also big on Tor to get inside vent room and immediately start cutting off the rotation as its bomb's making its way into the site, isolating the one player that was there to defend. So, you know, good working things out there from Signature to get it done and not have to go all 30 rounds. Definitely stressful, but they did make it happen.
Well, I guess better late than never, but there's going to be a couple of worrying signs there for them, I'm sure, not being able to get over the finish line. Even though it was incredibly close at one stage, I actually thought that was going to go to overtime. I thought Spotnet got the momentum in their hands. Seemed like suddenly Signature just couldn't get anything to stick for them, but they just about got past there. Next up is Mirage. You haven't seen them play this today. Be curious to see how that one comes down, but of course the loser of this best of 3 is out.
Yeah, I mean, this could definitely be the end of one team's journey coming up in this very next map if Signature are able to be the victors, and that would be disappointing, of course, for Spotnet, but we'll just have to see how it unfolds.
Yep, well, that's enough from us for this map. We're going to head back over to the desk, and those guys are going to break down what they just saw.
Indeed we are, yes. Game 1 done in the lower brackets. First match of the day. They took their time, didn't they? But they finally got their Signature Gaming, picking up their first ever win here at the Asia Minor. Can they take it home is the next question in the best of 3. We've got our two gents back here on the desk once more with Boogie and Natu. Natu, we'll start with you. That was a tough end for them, but up to the point where it got a bit sticky, literally, pun intended, it looked okay for them.
Yeah, no, they definitely do seem like we alluded to before in the game. They're the team that is much more elaborate. They have much more to play with. But in the big picture, if you look at the situation once they were up with 14 rounds, you know, it becomes that situation where they have too many kind of. The lead is that big that they start playing way too safe. No one is taking any risk. It's a part of Counter-Strike. You still have to take risks even if you're up that much. And then you end up in a lot of rounds where you're either in a 4-on-4 or a 5-on-5 situation down to the last 30 seconds and trying to hit a bomb site. You have no map control. It ain't going to happen. It's going to be way too easy for the CTs to be holding off, and then you don't even have that many utilities left anymore either to attack with. And that just comes down to them not daring to make plays because of the situation, them realizing, oh, we might be winning this. And then to win it in the end, the Take 9 round.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be like the Asian Liquid or something. Because at 15, you just said, come on, can you just finish this game right now? Like, you're on 15, what's the problem? Do you not know 16? Is it not in your vocabulary? It just seemed really difficult to get. You pointed out, Boogie, beforehand, you felt they would have the structure, and they did. Yeah. For the majority of this game, they had that structure, that edge that you were looking for.
Yeah. Well, there was some sort of an adaptability, but somehow it seemed to have stopped towards the end of the game there.
Here we go. Look, 15-7. This is the round.
This is, exactly. They're just hitting a bomb site. One guy in one corner, basically just stopping the push because they have no plan B anymore. There's only 10, 15 seconds on the clock. They lose 2 members straight from the get-go before making their way to the bomb site. And that's the end of it. You know, that's why it didn't work for Na'Vi that well back in the days. Well, they made it work, but because of how good they were individually. But if you want to go down that route, then you got to make sure you're hitting those shots, you're clearing all the spots, hitting the bomb site because there's no option B.
Yeah, to be fair as well, there were a few rounds in there where it did go down to 1v1s. It wasn't like it was all suddenly Spotnet went, oh, do you know what? We've remembered how to play Counter-Strike. Well, you can beat these guys. It did go 1v1 for a number of rounds in there as well.
Yeah, exactly. It was 6 consecutive rounds at the end, towards the end of the game, where Signature just couldn't capitalize on their 1v1 situations. Even on 2v1s, they seemed to miss somehow the element of closure. Perhaps a bit of a darker moment.
The element of closure.
The element of closure, yeah.
I love that. I love that.
There you go.
That's closure.
That's subtle.
That's what
closure. It was closure for us because we were suffering as well. We were sitting there. Come on!
No, we love this.
And I think
every second.
The element of closure comes down to both
Why are you
teams,
pointing at my pants when you say element of closure? Like
both teams overextending.
Well, how did we get onto that subject?
He said,
where did this go in the last 20 seconds?
My hands
I
are
don't know.
on
It's
top
pulled
of
up
the
to
desk.
this guy here. I don't know where he came from, but he's just trying to go wild. What I'm saying is that we saw a lot of situations where in an afterbomb situation, the T side especially on Signature side, either it was a 3-on-3 or a 3-on-4 situation, or something where they had a fair shot at winning the round, they would make stupid peeks. They would be peeking from the bomb site towards the balcony, for example, or peeking to connector or something, just giving the CTs an opportunity to give them a kill and give that mad advantage, make a hole to the defense they had at that point for the afterplan situation. And that's the kind of things that really makes the difference between good teams and teams that are trying to make it into becoming a decent team.
Between Renegades and the Lambs of the Slaughter, basically.
Yeah, at this point in time, if you want to put it into this context here. Simple.
Okay. In terms of MVP, we've got Rolex as the MVP.
Fair enough.
Any disagreements with that?
Nope. He was the standout player for sure, having a lot of multi-kills, and the numbers are on his side as well. Hitting 26 kills. Obviously, Tor as well. He was sitting at the same. Actually, pretty spread out in terms of kills. There was not a lot of difference within the lineup from Signature at all, but he was definitely the one making the most impactful plays. Huh?
There were 2 players on Signature, I believe, that hit 26.
Yeah, Tor as well.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, no, it was definitely a good game coming out of Signature. They did have that bit of a delay in their setup where they couldn't close around, where they just couldn't find their opening strat on their T site. Well, they could penetrate this site and get the bomb planted, but somehow those post plant positions, just like you said, I don't know why they felt the need to go for crazy boosts or to have amounts of utility and absolutely not use it at all, but they did so. But in the end,
it's called a lack of experience. Lack of experience.
Yeah.
Probably communication issues or rules of thumb for those situations. If we get into this situation and we have a lot of nades, how do we do it? And like there's a lot of little things you have to remind yourself. You have to have these rules of thumbs for the team.
And then when you play together as well, a number of times it's almost automatic, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like second nature to you. Okay. Thank you very much, gents. We are of course headed towards our second game of this particular match very shortly. Before we end up in Game 2, though, let's check in with one fine gentleman from the Spotnet team. This man is the in-game leader. He's Zero Cool.
Well, actually, the team lineup is like so new. We're playing together like 3 months. We had not enough time to practice, but the role are fitting like normally. We're playing just as a group. We're like taking the lead of style like Virtus Pro, playing together as a group, do some setups and trade kills, like just playing as a team. I'm counting on Isa on the most to send him some plays, like he's the mad fragger on the team. And I do play with other players just to play as a team together, as a group. We don't like really set the roles like 100% yet. We played just the first event together. It was the Arab Championship and we just passed it. It was like kinda easily. Even we played the minor qualifier. We won like all the matches kinda easy, except the finals, we just lost 1 map. The guy, Isa, he's the star player of the team. He play on the Face It Pro League with tier 1 players from the top tier teams. The play style between the regions make a difference. Like we could practice against European teams and the play style of the Asian scene is like kind of different. So it might not be a good advantage actually, but it gives some good individual skills. We are trying to get top 2 to go to the close qualifier. That's our main goal. Like, I hope like the support for the gaming scene for this region could raise more and more when they see our teams are reaching something international and that stuff, because the support is kind of like weak on that region. We just had Spotnet like 3 months ago. It's like the best sponsorship thing on Middle East at the moment.
Very interesting. Love to get the insight from the players from all of these teams from around Asia and no less from the Middle East as well. It's been fantastic to have all of these players here. We're going to get into our second game very shortly. It's Mirage this time round. So Natu,